Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
And you're not seeing either of our faces because I'm actually lying down in the bedroom with my jank headset on. Did I say bathroom?
Mike
I
was,
mean bedroom.
I heard bedroom, but no, you're not lying in the bath. He's not lying in the bathroom. Everybody, don't worry. This is not a hangover.
No, just a migraine.
No, just a bad migraine. But anyway, for those of you who are just coming here for the first time, this is the Overflow, where we answer the questions that we didn't get to over the course of the last podcast. And let's not waste any time. Micah, how about you pick this time?
I was about to
Politics
say,
or entertainment?
yeah, I'm the sick guy. I get to pick. Hooray! Hopefully there are some deep philosophical questions. Let's start with politics.
Okay, let's start with politics. So, Caleb Bach, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Or Cale Bach. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. Okay. Screwing it up already. If we had gone to war with the USSR after World War II, what do you think the outcome would have been?
Mutually assured destruction?
It certainly seems that way. I think the buildup of the Cold War kind of gradually turned us off to the idea of using nuclear weapons all willy-nilly. If we had gone to war with Russia like right afterwards, we'd all be dead.
Yeah. Not to mention there really wasn't any. Yeah, there was no way we could have won a war, even with Britain backing us, like Churchill would have probably done so. I mean, we just didn't have the numbers, and neither did they. They'd lost so many of their own people that nobody was really ready for another conflict.
No. Nope. So just keep it cool and spy on each other.
Pretty much.
All right. So Damien X247 wants to know our thoughts on the BetterHelp debacle.
So this is one I've been meaning to talk about, but I keep forgetting about. So just so everybody knows, I'm not putting it off. So for those who don't know, actually BetterHelp was a sponsor of the main channel for a short time, and
Yes.
nobody used it, to my recollection, or at least nobody used the referral link they gave me. So I never got money. So I told them, I said, I'm like, I'm going, this obviously is not something that people are looking into for whatever reason. So, and that's part of the reason why I just don't take sponsorships anymore, is because nobody uses them. This debacle is probably part of the reason why, is because, hearing this idea that they're not setting people up with actual licensed therapists or people with degrees, like that's jacked up. Like, because here's the weird thing, is like the service sounds incredible from the pitch of, we're gonna set you up with somebody who can help you with your mental illnesses, somebody you can talk to on a regular basis, and they're gonna have a network of psychologists and whatnot for you to be able to talk to that can help you out with all of this. And a lot of people could use that, especially those who have like crippling anxiety, but
Yeah, like me, for example.
yeah, but are at least able to like talk over Skype or something. Like that sort of thing could have been a big help to help people move forward. And they blew it, which is unfortunate. Like that's not something that you can like short the sheets on.
No.
So
I mean, at worst,
I'm just bummed by it.
At worst, they were outright taking advantage of people with mental illnesses, and that's absolutely scummy.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you said, there's plenty of people out there that have like ridiculous levels of anxiety that keep them from going to see a therapist. I mean, I'm one of them. Like because of personal issues when I was a kid, I cannot for the life of me go to therapy or any sort of setting that feels like I'm in a therapist's office or with a psychiatrist or anything of that sort. Even if it's not for me, even if it's for somebody else. Like I can't stop shaking. I tense up and stuff. And I thought BetterHelp sounds like a cool thing. I never ended up using the service. I looked into it, I think, like once, and then I was like, maybe this isn't for me because I don't like talking to total strangers either. And I didn't like the idea that like you wouldn't be matched up with the same person every time either.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really build a relationship with anyone, which is a big benefit of having your own personal therapist. You can build a relationship with them. Of course, that makes finding a new one afterwards more difficult, but I digress. It's unfortunate that it ended up being pretty much a scam as far as I'm concerned, um, because it's a really good idea for a service, but now that's pretty much done for.
Yep.
That sort of thing is forever tainted. It will always be stigmatized. So BetterHelp, you done fucked it up.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate because, we've talked about on this podcast several times about the necessity for a much more, streamlined and open availability of therapists and people who can help people with
Mm-hmm.
these mental issues. And that the lack of such, I think, is something that you know, we're paying the price for
Mm-hmm.
on many levels. There's a lot of issues with mental health here in the United States, and the fact is that the more that we become more insular on when it comes to our society, the more we become more about instant gratification, the more that we um, become less physically active, and people struggle with just basic things like gender roles of all things. Like the more that these things happen, the more there's going to be mental issues because people are going to have problems with purpose, they're going to have problems with direction, they're going to, or they might have something like depression or something along those lines, which were this 40, 50 years ago, and they would have a more, you know, basic idea of what they need to be doing in their life, then, there would be there really we wouldn't be having these issues. But we live in different times these days. I
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be of the belief that part of the reason so many struggle with basic things and why Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life was so substantial to a lot of people is because it was a tale of basically a modern rephrasing of what was basically common sense 40 years ago, and that people have just lost the grasp of after, you know, feminism being such a thing, and us being in a new age of digital media and instant gratification, and nobody knows what the long game is anymore, and nobody knows how to find it, and that was basically a light in the dark for a lot of people. So yeah, it's bringing all that back to BetterHelp. Just the simple fact that there is no one out there to for some of these people to lean on, and they just want someone to lean on, it's sad. It could have been something that really helped a lot of people, but fuck you, BetterHelp. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Brian Gilmartin asks, "Why would you? I'm sorry. What would you say about people who take such offense to the word thought that they would feel like committing violence against those who say it in a conversation?"
Thought as in thought process, or thought as in that hoe over there?
That one, the latter.
Ah, um, they probably had thought. that's my first. That's my first. My first reaction to that sort of a statement is like, you're probably a bit hoish. I
Going as far as violence, though, like
yeah, like that just.
I was not aware that thought was a slur.
Hey man, apparently, people who are sluts are really, really sensitive about the fact that they just can't stop blowing people. I don't know. Like that. I will say this. I With as many women as I have slept with, I have sort of gone into man whore status. Though I have been much better over these last 3 years of waiting for to find somebody who is looking for long term commitment. So go me, I guess. I guess being emphasized there, and but like promiscuity is, unless you've got some sort of mental problem, promiscuity is a choice. And you can't really get angry at people for calling you a slut if you know, if the first thought is like the 37 of you is the 37 scene from Clerks. Like you
In a
can't
row?
in a row. Yeah, like yeah, you can't be angry at people about that. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like you made the decision, and you either own it or you don't. But on the you don't sort of thing, then you've got a personal problem to work out. Don't get mad at somebody else for being observant.
I can't get over the fact that like somebody would punch a dude for even saying thought, like not even calling someone a thought, but just saying it.
Just saying it, yeah,
That
that's just being stupid. That
that
that person probably should be in a mental hospital.
no, it's dumb. I mean, like if anything, it's I can't even say like it's a meme that went mainstream because honestly, it feels like one of those slang terms that like pops up and is around for like 2 3 years and then fades back into obscurity.
Yeah, it's just popularized ebonics, really.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So
Which I mean,
I don't get it.
that's fine.
Which means if you punch somebody for saying it, you're probably a racist.
Oh man.
All right, so Hardboiled Entertainment wants to know. Every time I bring up Antifa's violence, lefties deny it's in any way they deny it's in any way common and usually in self-defense. Oh God, I can't even get through this thing.
Oh my god.
Does anyone on the left realize that this denial rots their effectiveness? Okay, if people are actually denying that Antifa is actively looking to cause violence, then they're, they're not
No.
just wrong, they're also stupid.
Yeah, that like, and this is not a winning issue for them. That
No.
was kind of the theme of the podcast, and it seems to be that's one thing that the right is just kind of observing right now. Is this is like there's a myriad of losing issues that the left simply will not be honest about, and
Mm-hmm.
they think that they're gonna win with it, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
no. So, and this is a big one. The idea that it's in self defense is bullshit. It's
Yeah, it's not.
you don't
It's
know. Like, these folks, if you look at the things that they write and you look at the things that they tweet and so on and so forth, they are looking for violence. They are
yeah.
looking to bully. They are looking to thug. They are looking to force you. They are, for better or worse, if the Black Panther Party were made up of spoiled white college kids, which is
Yeah,
probably why there's
LARPers,
more of them.
basically.
Yeah. So this is where we're at, and this idea that they somehow oppose fascism is ridiculous because their beliefs aren't that different. It's just for
No.
different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, the core belief of Antifa is revolution,
Mm-hmm.
overthrowing the state. Because to them, the state is responsible for all the evils and all the oppressions in the world. You get rid of the state, then you get rid of capitalism, and you get rid of any sort of uh, risk that fascism will rise. And of course, capitalism has to be central to that too, because of reasons that make no sense whatsoever.
No, it's
Yeah, the Antifa book was stupid in that regard, but at least it came out and said, "Yeah, this is the goal of Antifa. This is exactly what we stand for. Class war."
pretty much. And
So
you have to be pretty fucking ignorant not to notice that.
yeah.
So, but back on the whole thing with the left, it's like when you refuse to call it out and say this is not a good thing, then you find yourself in a position where people are going to look at you and go, well, wait a minute, like, we don't want this. And that's
Mm-hmm.
sort of why you're seeing more people who are of the left the whole walk away thing is going on.
Yeah.
Is like,
Even more moderates, they're being moved to the right because of it.
exactly. You know, think of how many people these days may end up punching the ticket for Donald Trump in the presidential elections who wouldn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, he does not, he's honest about things. He called out Antifa,
Mm-hmm.
which we famously mock danced to on the 1 year anniversary. But oh my god, it was the simple fact that they think it's going to be an issue that they're gonna win on if they even encourage anything that's even close to that. Because let's face it, the instant that Maxine Waters came out and told people to quote unquote get in the face of Republicans, these occurrences increased.
Mm-hmm.
And I legit fear that we are going to stupid ourselves into some sort of a conflict in the next 4 years, or next
Oh
six
yeah.
years, because when you've got people like Cory Booker and Maxine Waters and other people, when you've got Democratic workers doxing Republicans and their children, we are entering an era where I fear that people are legit wanting a conflict, and then what? Like it's not a fight they're gonna win, and people are gonna get hurt, and it's gonna be their fucking fault, and they're never gonna take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for it either.
Nope. I find it funny that these are the sorts of people who also say silence is violence, and yet
Fuck.
they are awfully silent when it comes to the violence being committed by their side.
Exactly. This is fucking ridiculous.
So, last politics question. Uh, what do we think of the distributist traditional codex? Is he being a bit too theocratic?
I am not familiar with it. I don't.
Neither am I.
Something that I need to warn people about is, since I have started writing Project Lazarus, and since I have started writing Inglewood, I have watched considerably less of any YouTubers, and I didn't watch that much in the first place. So that kind of puts me at a disadvantage. The distributist and I have talked about getting together and discussing things for some time now. I just have not had the time to set it up. But the I disagree with him. What I'm assuming it's about is, for better or worse, arguing for traditionalism from the sense of, from Catholicism, or from a Catholic's perspective. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue tied there. But in which case I'm going to disagree right out of the gate because I'm not a Catholic. But there's a lot of folks that are traditionalists in general that I have a great many disagreements with, because I feel like if we're going to return to a cultural background, if we're going to return to these sorts of things, people need to start seeing that the lifestyles that they are pushing forward are successful, as opposed to just constantly wrestling with modernity. At least that's my thought. Hatman.
I got nothing because I don't watch any of the distributed content, and just I think for reference too, it's probably not best to ask us questions about videos like assuming that we've seen them, because like Micah, I don't really watch a whole lot of like philosophy YouTube or political YouTube or things like that. Like if I'm gonna watch YouTube videos, it's basically to zone out. I don't watch as much of like Sargon stuff as I used to, for example. So the questions like the one we talked about, the Starship Troopers video, like neither of us had seen it. So I mean, moving forward, it's probably just best to ask us if we had seen those videos before, like thoughts about them.
Yes, definitely.
Because yeah,
I won't lie. Like
otherwise
the
it's
last,
basically a wasted question.
yeah, like the last YouTube watch binge I had was a few days ago for about a half hour of cat videos. I shit you not. I just I lament the fact that I don't have a pet, because I can't really afford a better apartment right now. So yeah, it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch a cat video, or I'm gonna watch a video of a Siberian Husky playing, or something like that. Like I don't. Not to mention, I mean, we talk about politics so much, we read so many articles and things like that, and we don't really want to just wallow in it because of how negative it is. We haven't,
Yeah,
like,
it gets exhausting, to
think
be
about
honest.
how long have we been recording at this point? About almost a half hour now.
Hmm.
And there has not been one positive thing said yet. I don't want to live like that. That's part of the reason why if the politics podcast has a motto, it's politics sucks. They really do these days. Like, or there just
Yeah,
seems to be nothing. Like, the only time that we have good, or not good, not that the politics discussions aren't good to have, but the only time that I come away from a politics podcast in a good mood is if we had a lot of stuff to laugh about. And there hasn't been much lately. I'm just gonna. The only thing I'm gonna laugh about is when fucking Beto O'Rourke loses the Senate race to Ted Cruz and fucks off permanently. Because he is cringy. Anyway, rant over.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we just the last question was basically talking about how divisive politics have become in the United States, and even around the world we've seen that, like with Brexit, like with the presidential elections in France, uh, Bolivia, or not, I'm sorry, not Bolivia, Brazil right now is really, really bad. Like you basically have a guy who's accused of being a fascist and another guy who appears to be a communist.
Yep.
Like that's that's a damn catch 22 right there.
Yeah, we
I mean,
have we are at an era where we seem to be marching down stupid street and
hmm
not just being completely oblivious to it. It's I hate it.
yeah, it's not fun. So it gets exhausting. You know, sometimes we just want to zone out and watch some cat videos or watch some spooky ghost videos because it's that time of year.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm writing comics is I'm hoping that this audience that I've built up are going to want to read something that is, fun as hell as opposed to, constantly talking about all this negative shit.
hmm Something appealing, at least.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Hatman has editing to do after this too.
Yes, I do.
All right, what's next?
Speaking of appealing, we're moving into entertainment now.
Hooray!
So, Koopa's Revenge Home asks, what comic villains deserve their own solo movies aside from Doctor Doom? Because, of course, that goes without saying.
Hmm. See, that's the funny thing. I don't know if I'm really a big fan of solo movies for bad guys.
Yeah, because you would have to almost make them like anti-heroes.
Yeah,
Because that's how Venom worked.
pretty much. Because Venom, really isn't a villain anymore. He hasn't been for
No.
some time.
And if you don't have a hero for the villain to fight, then there's really not that much of a point.
Yeah.
And you can't
I'm.
make the hero the villain of a villain movie. Like that's
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to this Batman, or this Joker movie with Joaquin
hmm
Phoenix. Because oddly enough, I think he is the only other actor in Hollywood who will be able to get the Joker right. Um, the and the test footage we have seen so far looks great,
hmm
but it could still end up sucking. So there's that. But that sort of thing doesn't really work that well. I would even argue that Suicide Squad didn't even work that well when it's technically a villain movie. But that's on a technicality because it's villains forced to do something heroic or bombs in their necks go off and they die. So yeah, um, I guess if there was anyone that I think would make for an interesting film, um, hmm, it would be Doom, just because of the simple fact that his I do not want another fucking Fantastic Four movie where they try to tie his origin to Reed Richards or to the Fantastic Four. It's like, stop it. He has his own origin, separate
hmm
from everything else, and the only reason he knows Reed is because he went to college with him. That's it.
hmm
That's all that needs to be established. Like in the first movies that were done by what's his face, like the having him be exposed to the same cosmic rays and basically making him Electro was dumb. And then I never saw Fan Four Stick, so I don't even want to know how they did it there. But it's dumb. It's like, don't no, stop it, stop it. Like that's basically it. Other villains, like I can't think of any others that would make for an interesting film. So
There is one,
hmm.
but I think it would border more on anti-hero than anything else, and that would be Magneto.
Um, you know, I I would not be interested in that film personally.
Really?
I kind of feel like we really have a good grasp of his origin at this point. So like the I can't really.
You don't have to do an origin story for Magneto, I don't think.
Or just a story in general. I don't know. Like it doesn't really vibe with me, to be honest.
No, I think of it as more of a political drama than anything else.
Hmm.
I mean, I could imagine it being set in modern day, like with all the accusations about Nazis running around and how Magneto, reacts to that, that being a core point of his origin, and whether or not, it actually does have something to do with, a resurgence of fascist ideals and persecution of mutants, like, and maybe, of course, you could have some of those conversations with Charles along the way too. I mean, that basically be the antagonist, quote unquote, of the movie. It would be Charles.
Um, I don't know if I would do it that way. I would rather, if you're gonna make a Magneto movie, there is one element that I think would be interesting to do, and it would be the founding of Genosha.
Yeah.
That's a
See, I'm not even
storyline
thinking of
that could work.
adapting any comics though. That's the thing.
Well, that's just a general idea of like one little
Yeah.
thing you could at least have an aim for to make Magneto's separatist ideas seem more sympathetic.
Hmm.
You know, um,
Hmm.
because that and the whole Sentinel storyline from his perspective
Yeah.
that could be interesting. But
Mutant nationalism.
yeah, but even then, I'm not completely sold on it. But
I think it'd be different from comic book movies that we've seen because I don't see it being anything but slow paced.
yeah,
Like it would be a slow burn.
yeah, to
Yeah,
say the
I
least.
remember. I remember years back they were kicking around the idea of a Magneto movie after the Wolverine origin movie,
Yeah, and
and then when
because
that flopped,
yeah,
we didn't get it
yeah,
for the
it
best. For the
it
best, honestly.
it probably just wouldn't have ended well. Like the only other villain that
Yeah.
I could think of that could have like a compelling story, like have a film, it'd be Thanos.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, we got that basically. That was Infinity War.
Pretty much. So
That was a Thanos movie.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Although I would kill to have a Thanos Quest movie, but
Yeah, that's basically
I
what
guess
Infinity
technically that
War
was also
is.
Infinity War.
Yeah, like that. That's pretty much the long and short of it. So, all right, what's
All right.
next?
Mr. Monkeyland asks, or not really asks, he's got a story idea.
Mm-hmm.
Carol Danvers with a guy.
Hasn't been done in over 10 years. So
Didn't didn't Carol Danvers like get get pregnant with a dude that she had sex with?
well, she yeah, Avengers number 200 where where she gets involved in a rape pregnancy time loop. And it is the most fucked up comic you'll ever read cuz you cannot believe that Jim Shooter okayed it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, she's dated in the past when she was Miss Marvel, but they won't let it happen now for whatever reason. Mostly because they keep hiring YA writers to write her who hate men. If I ever wrote Carol, she would definitely have a man in her life. Definitely. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There would definitely be a man in her life.
Who would it be, though?
Um, Probably not an established hero. Probably an original character.
Gotcha.
Because the purpose of the character would be to give her some sense of grounding. So, for those of you who have not read I want to say it was Brian Hill or somebody like that, back about during the Quesada era, there's that run on Miss Marvel is really good. And it treated Carol like a woman, which is how you're supposed to write a character like that.
Mm-hmm.
The only people who really had that grasp are that writer, Brian Lee, that's it. Were Brian Lee and Chris Claremont. And the original, like, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel writers when she first came about. Like, for some reason, there is a good chunk of people out there that do not want her to be a woman. They want her to be the feminist version of a woman, which is not a woman at all. It's a dude. So, yeah.
Yeah. No butch lesbian Carol Danvers.
Yeah, enough of that. No Carl Manvers. We're done with that.
Micah.
Hmm.
Hardboiled Entertainment wants to know, have you seen First Man?
No, and I will not.
I have not seen it either, and I don't particularly care to either.
You do not take that accomplishment away from America. Fuck you.
You know, I saw a meme the other day. It was an older meme, but it still checks out. It said that if China went to the moon and knocked down the American flag, we would spend millions of dollars to go back just to put that flag back up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we absolutely would do such a thing. And if I had the opportunity, I would be the one to put that flag back up and then knock down the Chinese flag.
I'd wipe my ass with it. Like, fuck them, man.
I'd knock it over and then say made in China. Yeah, no, we have not seen that. I don't care to see it because you made a political issue out of something that was not political at all.
Yeah. We were first. Get over it.
Yeah. Well,
Fucking assholes.
not just first. We were the only ones.
Yeah.
To this day that got there.
And we're gonna colonize that bitch before anybody else does.
Least of all, the Transformers. That was a bad movie.
That was a very bad movie. Why did you even bring it up?
Because that's the first thing I thought of when colonizing the moon.
Shame on you, Hatman.
Well, that and also the other option was Apollo 18. And that's moon crabs.
Huh.
Yeah. Moon crabs.
See,
I'm not kidding. That's the twist of the movie. The rocks are actually moon crabs.
That's really dumb. Should have been Venom. But anyway.
Yeah, should have been Venom. All right, Kel Bach again. I swear, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. What would be your homebrew Space Marine chapter be like?
Didn't we have this discussion? Texans!
Yeah, I think we did have this discussion already.
Yeah. I don't remember what the chapter was called, but yeah, it was basically Texans in power armor. And cowboy hats.
Big ol' Stetsons.
It'd be hilarious. But it would be so effective.
Deus Volt, y'all.
Exactly.
Swordsman 100 wants to know if we could see Eddie Brock as an Avenger since Flash and Sandman were Avengers.
Mm, maybe.
I still say no.
Like, no, yeah, I kind of would rather have Eddie in the Thunderbolts, like we discussed.
Well, even then, I don't see Eddie playing very well with the Avengers. I just see there being too many conflicts there.
Like, who ate all the cheesecake? You think Eddie Brock and Bruce Banner would get along at all? Probably not.
Yeah, I can't imagine either. I don't imagine he'd get along very well with Steve Rogers either.
No, he really wouldn't.
Yeah. Tony maybe.
Tony would just want to experiment on the symbiote all day.
Yeah. I could see them just like sassing each other all the time.
The big thing about Venom is he just generally does not play well with others.
No. No.
Like the amount of people
Mm-mm.
he's actually gotten along with is pretty minimal. Like
Yeah.
I can't think of many. Honestly, the Punisher even
Yeah.
hates him.
Yeah, Thunderbolts would be a better fit for him because everyone is sort of begrudgingly there.
Yeah, and you could
So it
establish
makes it
relationships
makes
for him.
sense. Yeah. You're kind of forced to because everyone is.
Yeah.
Avengers, not so much. He would not. That would not be a thing he would be willing to do.
He doesn't really have the social even ability that like Flash Thompson had.
Mm-mm.
Because Flash was a football player. He was used to working with a team, and then he was a military
Yeah.
man, so he was
Yeah.
even more used to
Exactly.
working with a team. So like
Yeah.
it fits him. With Eddie, he's more of a loner. You
Yeah.
know,
He's definitely a lone wolf.
so yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't work out.
All right, what be next?
All right. Crystal Wing 2149 wants to know how would you write Toxin and how would you bring him back?
I wouldn't.
Good call.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I would not bring him back. The reason being is I kind of feel like um, he got played out, and he, after the original miniseries, was simply not given a shot. And the fact that they would not use him is eventually what killed him. Because I think it was either Rick Remender or I can't remember his name, the other main Venom writer at the time, Cullen Bunn. One or the other is the guy who killed off Patrick Mulligan and basically had Blackheart beat him to death in an alleyway for whatever reason, and it was stupid. And then they gave the symbiote to Eddie, which was okay, but the way that they redesigned him looked dumb, and yeah. And part of the reason it looked so dumb is because they didn't go with the original design they were going to do for Eddie Brock as Toxin, which was basically a red and black version of his costume as Venom, which would have looked awesome. But fuck us, apparently. So, yeah. Like, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't bring him back. I just. Without the Patrick Mulligan character. And I don't want to do some. I would never want to do some sort of bullshit resurrection story. For Toxin. Just, no. It wouldn't work out at this point. It was a good thought. It was a cool idea. It was a good mini series. It didn't pan out. That's really just it.
Are there any symbiotes that you would bring back?
Um. Well, that's the thing is I think the Life Foundation symbiotes still exist somewhere,
Hmm.
so you could always bring them around. But the only one of them that I ever really liked was Scream.
Hmm.
So, because she just had a really cool design. Like the rest of them, Riot, Lasher, and all the others, like they look kind of boring. Just being honest.
Yeah.
But Scream on the other hand, she looked great. She was pretty sweet looking. So yeah, I liked her as a villain.
Fair enough. All right. Will Geary wants to know, how would we write RoboCop?
Like RoboCop, there's literally nothing I would change from that with that character from the original film. Like if I wrote a RoboCop comic, it would basically be RoboCop kicking someone's ass or lots of asses for 20 some odd pages.
Yeah, it'd basically be like RoboCop and the issues of today, which are not terribly different from issues of the 1980s, but with more people just being politically violent, I guess.
Yeah. RoboCop versus MS-13 would be a fun book to write.
RoboCop versus Black Lives Matter would be incredibly interesting now that I think about it.
I don't know how I could make that work, aside from just a conversation of someone yelling at RoboCop and he's just staring at them, and staring at them, and staring at them, and then by the time that they're quiet, there's just a beat panel of him just still staring at them, and they're just saying nothing, and then he just walks away going, "Stay out of trouble."
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting because you've got all that anti-police sentiment, and obviously RoboCop's just trying to do his job, and how would you call a robot whose literal objective is to serve the public trust, uphold the law, all that mess? How would you say, like, he's part of that all cops are bastards mentality?
Y'all programmed a white man.
Yeah, like it'd be interesting to explore that from his perspective. See that bit of Murphy come back to him too.
Maybe. I just think it would be funny that somebody would accuse him of being like I would have one of the commentators on the mock TV stuff in a comic book basically look like and act like Ta-Nehisi Coates, and then somebody so he goes, "Why didn't you choose a black man for the job?" And somebody goes, "Do you have any idea what the process of creating RoboCop was? Like, do you really want
RoboCop was programmed with privilege."
Yeah, it's like it would be ridiculous. I would mock so many stupid people with those sort of segments, and it would be hilarious.
Oh yes, that would be great.
Oddly enough, though, we will get certain things like that in Inglewood. There will be a character that basically considers the lead character to be an Uncle Tom who is in the press.
There we go.
So,
not RoboCop, but you still have something to look forward to.
Yes.
All right. Zachary Loggins wants to know, Watchmen with Marvel characters, who would be on the team?
At that point, you'd just be doing like a really weird drama comic with the Invaders, because it's basically kind of the parallel there.
Yeah.
Invaders are the JSA. I mean, those are the old school comic book teams.
Yeah.
Which I would not want to see, honestly. I would not want to see something like that. Watchmen's a deconstruction. There's no point in deconstructing Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Like that. They're supposed to be taken at face value.
Well, even then, you'd basically just be trying to find, like, whoever comes the closest. Like, for example, Punisher for, oh god, comedian.
Even then, that doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like,
but that's like the closest thing that I could think of because of the cynicism.
Well, that's the thing about The Watchmen, is that it's not really meant to again, it's a deconstruction. You know, it's
Yeah,
trying to parallel it with Marvel characters would just be bad.
yeah.
It
It's
would
like
not turn out well.
they're very very different. And even then, like, Watchmen is also a product of its time.
Yeah.
Like, you consider each character was molded by the events of history, like, Vietnam, for example. Huge. Like, you don't have something like that for Marvel. I
No.
mean, you'd have to start like pulling from Marvel history, and even then, that would be like incredibly difficult to nail down each one.
Not to
Like Doctor
mention,
Manhattan, who would you get for Doctor Manhattan? Who is so like OP and yet disconnected from reality like that?
well, no one. He's supposed to be a deconstruction of the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
So, but that's again, that's the problem is deconstruction, and I don't really feel like there's any of these Marvel characters that need to be fucking deconstructed because we know so much about their origin. It doesn't make sense
Mm-hmm.
to deconstruct them. We know who
Mm-hmm.
they are.
Yeah.
And that's the general issue is deconstruction is not about really establishing characters. It's about observing a trope.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand.
Yeah.
So,
We've done that so much already, and especially because of all the Marvel events too. Like, think of Civil War, for example. Civil War was a more recent deconstruction, but still like one of
that
the
wasn't
most
even that
notable
recent.
ones.
Yeah. That was still over 10 years ago.
Yeah, what was that, 2006?
2000 that was 2006, 2007.
Yeah,
And even then it's not that good of a comic. Not until not the last issue blows.
yeah, they kind of fuck it up completely.
Yeah. Something about Mark Miller around that time, he was so great with it with Ultimates 1. And then Ultimates 2 happened and the last issue got delayed like 6 months.
Hmm.
And then the last issue of Civil War got delayed like 6 or 7 months. It was apparently completely rewritten. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, people, what are you doing?
Yeah,
So, yeah. But it's like it'd be like if you tried to deconstruct the fucking Punisher. It's like, no, why are you what are you doing? What are you doing?
what's the point?
The Ennis run exists. It gives you all of the details of this man's mental state. There's no reason to pick him apart again.
Yeah, what's the point?
There isn't one. And
I
that's
mean, for God's sake, even the Daredevil TV series did it in one episode.
yeah.
One damn episode. That's all it took.
Mhm. But that's the general idea is that Cape comics are not about deconstruction. They're about
No.
building something up.
Yeah.
And that's just something that a lot of people don't really understand, I guess. I don't know. Enough of me ranting. How many more questions we got?
We have one more.
Okay.
I'm Meyer Prepper. I believe that's
I'm your
how I'm
pepper.
reading it. Okay. Um, do you think Tony or Steve might be killed off at the end of Avengers 4 only for the end credits to reveal that they were Skrulls?
That's a possibility. Um,
I don't think they would do that.
I don't.
That's
I don't think so
way too
either.
hard of a bait and switch.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm not going to discount the possibility because I know that they want to keep the door open for these characters to continue to show up in some way, shape, or form. We know
Hmm.
that Chris Evans is taking a break from the MCU to do Broadway and do other stuff he's wanted to do, like direct films.
Direct, yeah.
But he will eventually return to the role, I think.
I'm not convinced, to be honest. But
Um, I do like the idea that they would not feel the need to recast him. That I think is comforting because he's sort of, you know, the Christopher Reeves of that character at this point.
hmm,
There's nobody else I can imagine playing him and doing it well.
yeah.
So it's like it's not even worth touching.
No.
So
Same thing with Tony Stark too.
yeah, I do have a feeling that, especially with Christopher Evans kind of, you know, spoiling the fact that Cap is going to die when he said that, Avengers 4 had wrapped and he was thanking everyone for, instead of saying thank you for, the support of this film, he's like, of the MCU, and basically he's like, peace out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, dude.
Well, it's not necessarily an acknowledgement of death. I mean, it could just be that's the end of Cap's story. Like he goes, riding off into the sunset or something. Even. I mean, yeah, I'm convinced that he's going to bite it, but that's not automatically a guarantee of death.
Yeah. Like I've said before, though, the possible death knell of the MCU would be if you kill off Cap and you just try to shove Carol Danvers into his role in sort of like leadership of the Avengers. It will fail because nobody likes Carol Danvers.
You would have to make her very, very appealing, and you have one movie to do it.
And you
Basically.
fuckers won't even let her smile.
Yeah, no. Even Cap joked around and shit. Like, I hate this idea that if you want a strong female character,
that she
they
has
have
to
to
be a
like
bitch.
ridiculously stoic. Yeah, like that. No, that's dumb.
You want to know what was great about Wonder Woman? The scene where Diana sees a baby. And I've mentioned this before, and don't laugh at me on this one because I'm being dead serious.
No, I'm not laughing. That's a great example.
Like, her reaction to that child sold me on the fact that the character has a heart.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing wrong with a woman being a woman at all, at any point fucking ever.
Yeah, Wonder Woman worked because she was strong and she was feminine. And there was nothing wrong with that. You can be both. You can be both.
Stop trying to make women into dudes.
Yeah.
You're not dudes. You're never going to be dudes. No amount of surgery will make you dudes. Just stop.
I mean, what does that say that you want to buck gender roles so badly, but your idea of a strong woman is
a dude
turning them into a man? Yeah. Kind of defeats the purpose there, doesn't it?
I thought one of the most telling things was when I saw the master's thesis of Anita Sarkeesian, where she basically portrayed any and all feminine traits in media as the negative and the masculine as the positive. I'm like, but argued that it shouldn't be just men who are like this. And I'm like, you want women to be dudes. And you think it's not fair that you're not. Like, this is bullshit. You can be a strong woman and still be feminine, and oddly enough, more people will like you.
Yep. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a problem. Masculinity is not a bad thing. Femininity is not a bad thing. For God's sake.
Man, there has been no positivity in this episode. Ain't no sunshine with this show.
I apologize.
Only darkness every day.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
No, I was quoting a different song. Damn it, you went to the wrong one.
Well, I've got Watchmen on the brain too, and that song was in Watchmen. But I broke it again. There's no positive to be found even in referencing things.
At least I have chicken.
All right, Leroy, settle down.
No, I'm being dead serious. I actually have a plate of chicken sitting next to me.
Okay,
been waiting this entire time for me to eat it. It smells delicious though. So there's that.
Damn it, Leroy. It's okay. I had my chicken earlier. It was not fried, but it was still pretty good.
Oh, this isn't fried either. It's a casserole, but
that works. That works. Anyway, that's it.
Yep.
That's another episode in the tank.
Yep. We want to thank you guys for stopping by. Sorry that it was so depressing. Hopefully we'll find more positive things to discuss next time. But if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And we bring by the Overflow every single week, on top of the podcast every weekend. So don't miss us this coming Saturday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, provided that I don't die and Hatman's power doesn't go out.
Yeah. That.
Yes. But folks, we do appreciate all of you. Hopefully I'll start feeling better tomorrow, and I can start working on some of the reviews that you all have paid me for, which there aren't that many really. There's Batman v Superman, and then My Little Pony.
Oh God, don't remind me.
And you have to suffer through that with me.
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah, this is gonna be a thing.
No positives to be found there.
Well, at least that's kind of funny, because I had this odd feeling that anybody who watches me watch it is going to be seeing me cringe out of their skin, or out of my skin, and that seems to be a reaction people like. I'm genuinely surprised nobody has paid me to do another Necopara stream at this point.
Oh God.
Genuinely shocked at it.
I would probably just end up riffing on it the entire time, like I did with this fucking 50 Shades of Grey.
I was legit horrified. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Although 50 Shades of Grey, eventually I just sort of ran out of steam and just got incredibly bored with it.
Well, it's kind of a boring statement.
It is. It's a boring fucking movie.
But
how do you make a sex scene boring? That's what I want to know.
Have a feminist involved? Feminist 30 Shades of Grey would be like an hour and a half of talking over a fucking consent document. There! Finally some freaking laughter! Ah! My name is Micah Curtis!
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
And we'll see you guys next time. Dave's Vault.